It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
U.S. Cellular is here to help you spread some holiday cheer. This is David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast, and U.S. Cellular wants to help everyone get the gift of connection this holiday season. Already a customer? This applies to you too, because right now, new and current customers can get any phone, and I mean any phone, for free. Yes, really, for free. Sounds like it's time to make the switch. Spread holiday cheer far and wide this season with a new phone. Everyone can get the gift of connection at U.S. Cellular. Get any phone free today. U.S. Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com for details.
It's a big Tuesday episode with the dynamic fantasy duo Hole. Once again, we're taking a look at all of the information from the last couple of days that all of the fantasy heads out there need to know on the Tuesday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Dylan Larkin on IR, Perron, Gudbranson, and Strome all going to be facing some hearings. Kyle Connor, what is going on with the Jets and Tuesday's bets? Let's tap in and let's get this money.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Giddy up, fantasy heads. We're back. And it's time for the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. My friends, fantasy fanatics, hockey heads, degenerate gamblers, all of our listeners out there, you can tell I'm a little bit more fired up today. I got my boy back in the booth. Steele and I are here to take care of all of the news that's affecting your fantasy squad. That's what we're about here every single day. We try and keep it tight, try and keep it fun for y'all, and give you every single bit of news that could be affecting your squad. Dylan Larkin is now on IR, 25 points this season. The captain, D-Boss in Detroit, going through the ringer right now, Steele. I gave this guy a shout out about his personal matters. We're not going to get there. Seeing a guy on the ice in that matter is scary, but there's a bunch of hubbaloos, Steele. Your boy used to say that. There was a lot of Donnybrooks, dust-ups, situations that we have to talk about because not only are there suspensions, there's injuries. And Kyle Connor, we don't know, but that looked nasty. We're going to talk about that. The dust-up in CBJ, Florida, we're going to talk about that and Tuesday's bets. Steele, I miss you, brother. You're back in the saddle again. Let's get it going, though. Dylan Larkin, this is a guy, for obvious reasons, has been going through it. David Perron comes to his defense. He jumps Artem Zub. That was a little bit of a dutty play because I want your take on this. I don't know fully if really anyone was really at fault for Larkin going down like that. Bit of an awkward play. You see these plays in terms of the aggression on him all the time. Was a little bit awkward, but I want your take on this thing altogether. And of course, the fantasy value of Larkin is going to need to be replaced.
Yeah, it's a scary situation. And as of right now, it does say he's only out for a week. So he could be back in 7 days or 8 days, depending on how fast he can recover from this situation or from the injury. But it's a scary situation because you go back and look at his injury history. He's dealt with some serious neck injuries in the past, just from 2 seasons ago. Even if you go back from and look at a play from last year when Matthew Joseph was on the Tampa Bay Lightning, he was actually in an incident where he hit Dylan Larkin from behind. Larkin didn't like that, and that's actually when Larkin got suspended himself for 1 game because he ended up sucker punching Matthew Joseph after that play because he didn't like the hit. But I don't think this was on purpose. This was not vicious play. This was a pure fluke incident where they're battling for the puck. The Ottawa Senators players are obviously just trying to get the puck away from their goaltender and away from the front of the net, and they're battling for position. Dylan Larkin gets a little bit of a shot from behind from Matthew Joseph, nothing serious about it. And then Parker Kelly's coming from the other side where his glove catches him in the chin, it looked like, and he goes down almost immediately. Yeah. And it was scary because he wasn't moving, and the way that he was laid out on the ice, it was a scary situation. And that's where David Perron comes in and takes exception. And that's where it gets really serious and really gutty from David Perron. Because he didn't even go after the proper guy. He went after the guy that he had been battling with on the entire shift in Artem Zub. But what a vicious play from David Perron. Just a jumping Superman cross check right to the side of the head of Artem Zub. He goes down. He starts laying a couple of punches on him. And it's just a scary situation because you understand one of your, you see one of your teammates down in a critical condition, and you just go after anybody on the ice. And unfortunately, David Perron it was a bonehead play. You don't do that. You definitely don't Superman cross-check someone in the side of the head, or even close to the neck area. So it's clearly David Perron's got an in-person hearing. And I would be very surprised if he gets less than 5 games, because that was vicious. It was dirty. This was not a play where someone was trying to hurt someone or injure them. This was just a play in front of the net. You're battling for position. You're trying to get the puck out of the way from a dangerous situation.
I think it was one of those plays, too, when it comes to Parker Kelly. You're just in the moment, right?
Yeah.
He's going to give Larkin a good shove, which is totally clean. Larkin moves a little bit, and his one hand makes contact where he was going for, right in his shoulder area. But I think it was maybe his left hand kind of smacked him right in the chin. Yeah, okay, I get the frustration of David Perron overall. It was a chippy game. But his behavior there as a veteran and a long-standing leader in this league, to me, it's a total goon show move. I think 5-game suspension is where it should kind of be the bar.
Yeah.
George Peros, Department of Player Safety, it's a busy crew over the next 48 hours. Going to have to deal with. You saw the trio of bad boys up there. Erik Gudbranson pulling his own goon show. Ryan Strome with a very questionable knee on Kyle Connor, which we'll talk about, and, of course, Betts. But in terms of Dylan Larkin, number one, scary situation. You hope he's okay. Sounds like he's going to be okay, but given the track record and also just everything going on with the guy, imagine being this guy's wife at home and seeing that after everything they've been with. Anyway, we're going to keep it positive. 31 penalty minutes, 83 shots on net for Larkin, 11 goals, 14 assists. He's been playing really well of late. You're going to have to get creative right now, filling in for this guy. The Detroit Red Wings have been, over the last week, up and down. They started to look really good. You thought Patrick Kane coming in was going to almost maybe take this team to the next level. And I think there's a point to be made here, Steele, and I made it yesterday on the Monday Waiver Wire episode, is that there are a lot of new faces in the mix in Detroit. And now Patty Kane, as much as all of the things he brings to the table are legit, he's a big personality, Steele.
Yeah.
He is a big swagger, give me the energy and attention type guy, which is usually good. But when you have a lot of other new faces in there, there's growing pains. So I just wanted to say that about the Detroit Red Wings situation.
And on top of that as well, I believe JT Compher and Klim Kostin are on the IR as well now for the Detroit Red Wings. So they've lost a few bodies. All two of them, and Klim Kostin and JT Compher being new faces. They bring in Patrick Kane. They lose Dylan Larkin. So there's going to be a lot of line mixtures and line changes coming from the lawn moving forward, at least for the next week.
Detroit recalls Zach Aston Reese, Jonathan Berggren, and Austin Cesarnik from the AHL. I know those guys may have familiarity with some Detroit Red Wings players, but here we go with 3 even newer faces now, Steele, guys who have played less in the lineup. So I'm going to tease to Betts, maybe fade the Red Wings while they get comfortable with these new lineup mixes. But Perron, he's going to get some games. Larkin's going to mix some games right after the break. We'll talk about Gudbranson quickly. Not from a fantasy perspective. I just more so think it was a talking point of the weekend. I want your take on it. I think it was, I don't know. We'll save it for after the break. And, of course, more importantly, Kyle Connor, a big fantasy piece. Knee on knee, Ryan Strome. Tuesday's bets all coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Your favorite team could hoist the Stanley Cup. Your favorite player could pop 50, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially, and of course, daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win $100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. To win 100 times, bet on Sleeper. Just correctly predict the outcome of 8-player stats on your favorite team. Anything you do on daily hockey with Sleeper, you need to be paying attention and make sure your picks start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
Hey everyone, Chris from Locked On Avalanche here. If you like using debit over credit, I just learned about something that's definitely a game changer. Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cash back on everyday purchases, which means you can get cash back on NHL tickets or head-to-toe hockey gear to make this season a total win. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Big news from the Locked On Network. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So make sure you go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip Livingstone and your boy Steel Road. And thank you so much for subscribing. Continue to do so. Hit the follow button. Leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us every single day. Fact. And this was definitely one of the craziest weekends we've seen in the NHL.
Yeah,
from 3 separate games. Just absolute mayhem. We just talked about the Dylan Larkin situation. He's out for the next week at least. David Perron's most likely going to be suspended. Again, we would be both surprised if he gets less than 5 games. But Erik Gudbranson and the Columbus Blue Jackets in the Florida Panthers game just a couple of days ago, that was absolutely insane from Erik Gudbranson. I want to hear what you have to say about it first, and then I'll follow up. But I would also be surprised if Gudbranson doesn't get 5 games at least.
I'm going to put those, I would say, looking at them just from a sheer, I'm not going to compare it to anything other than what we looked at. Gudbranson has to get more. It was much more vicious in terms of just an egregious punching to the guy's dome straight out of nowhere. When also, say what you will about Perron grabbing the wrong guy, I can understand a little bit more about Detroit's team being so rattled about knowing Dylan Larkin, what he's been going through. Yeah. He's their captain. Erik Gudbranson is Erik Gudbranson, but seeing Dylan Larkin go down in that manner, Steel, is going to make you've played hockey. Yeah. You see one of your boys get run viciously, you're ready to go through a brick wall. So when you see your captain go down in that nature, I understand that maybe he saw red and did really, really stupid things. Whereas Erik Gudbranson, when you take a look at it, Nick Cousins, that play, I really don't think it was nearly as nasty as he obviously thought it was. And the referees took back the game misconduct and just gave him a penalty. So they also agree. So I think Gudbranson obviously overreacts in a very, very big way. But here's my takeaway on this. I think the Florida Panthers did a really, really good job to not get mixed up in that could have really gone a wrong way. Someone gets suspended. One of their key players gets mixed up in a fight over some really dumb stuff and they get hurt. When I'm looking at these standings, Steel, and this is the point I wanted to make, you lose a player to a suspension or an injury getting involved with the Columbus Blue Jackets on some BS like that, when you've closed the gap on the division lead to 3 points on the Boston Bruins, this is where things go off the rails for a team who, Steel, that run to the Stanley Cup last year starting to look like it wasn't a fluke for this Panthers team.
Yeah, that is definitely for sure. They, especially with getting Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad back, they're getting their blue line completely into it now. But that was just one of those really, really bad situations to see from a hockey player. And, I go back and look at that, not Joe Sakic.
What are you thinking about here?
The
old play.
Yeah, the old play. More. Where Todd Bertuzzi drove him into the
Dominic
ice.
Moore?
Dominic Moore. Yeah. Sorry, I blanked on the name for a second. He played for the Colorado Avalanche. But I go
when
back
Bertuzzi snuffed him in the back of the dome.
I go back and look at that play. And obviously this wasn't as vicious as that was, driving someone straight, knocking them out while he's skating and driving them headfirst into the ice. Mm-hmm. But I look at it the exact same way because
he jumped him.
Gudbranson literally wraps his arm around his neck and whips him straight down to the ice and starts punching him in the back of the head. That was gutless, vicious from Erik Gudbranson. I completely agree with the refs and the take and your take on this from Nick Cousin from the earlier hit. Yeah. He actually, as well as on top of that, the host of the Locked On Panthers, Armando Velez, made a really good point on Twitter where this was not a defenseless player. Gudbranson looked behind him, saw Nick Cousins coming, and didn't do anything to get out of the way or, change the direction of where his body was. He saw Nick Cousins coming, and it was a boarding. It was a 2-minute penalty. But Gudbranson lost sight of, again, like you said, just red in the face. He was going after him the next chance he got, and he did. And again, I would be very surprised if he gets less than 5 games. I don't think he will. It might even be close to 10.
If I had to throw out numbers, I'm going to say 10 for Gudbranson. I'd go 5, 6, or 7 for Perron, and I'm going to say 3 or 4 for Ryan Strome, because I don't think if it comes down to it, knee on knee is nasty. It's much more one of those, I think, bang, bang type plays, whereas the first 2 were much more premeditated in terms of viciously attacking a player. A knee on knee is nasty, and Kyle Connor is obviously the biggest piece of any of the players we're talking about. And I no disrespect to Dylan Larkin, but Kyle Connor is on a special heater. So let's talk about that right after the break. Actually, you know what, Steele? Let's talk about it now. Yeah. Because I'm with you on the Gudbranson take, but where it comes down to fantasy relevancy out of all of this situation, it's got to be Kyle Connor. Mm-hmm. Kyle Connor is leading the way for a Jets team, Steele. And we're not going to talk about my prediction because there was a lot of them. But this is the team sitting first in the Central Division right now. And a big reason has to do with Kyle Connor's 17 goals, 11 assists, 102 shots on net. He's up there for the league in shots. He has been very effective over the last number of years, Steele. This is nothing new for Kyle Connor. I think actually, one of the things I like to throw out there a lot, other than Mark Giordano's birthday, is underrated players. And I think we've said this about Kyle Connor. He's got to be up there on the underrated list, but I'm not sure why. 93 points 2 years ago. Last season, 80 points. Already on pace for another 80-plus point season. Knee on knee. Hit me with your take on this. Little preamble there for you on Kyle Connor. What did you think of the play? What do you think of this situation?
Yeah, obviously, when it's this type of player, you hate to see this type of injury because it could be very serious. The way that the knee bends back. I believe he's getting an MRI in San Jose either yesterday or today. So we should be getting back some more details on the severity of the injury. I'm not going to go as far as 4 games. I don't even think he will get suspended. I'll be fine if he gets 1 game, but I'm also looking at this, if I want to go back onto the Garnett Hathaway incident with Zach Werenski.
Do we want to go there?
No, I'm not. We're not going to dive into that incident, but looking back at it, I see it as the same type of play. Kyle Connor's, again, different situations. Werenski's behind the net. Kyle Connor's coming in front of the net, but he's skating in front of the net. He's shooting the puck. Ryan Strome is going for a hit, and right before he tries to finish that hit, he goes after Kyle Connor. He wasn't sticking out his leg. Kyle Connor shifted a little bit to the left where his upper body again misses the target, but because the legs are still there, you get the knee on knee. So I'm fine if he gets suspended 1 or 2 games. I don't think he'll get more than that. But like you said, it was not a vicious play. You could clearly see him trying to throw the right shoulder into Kyle Connor, but missed the target and their knees collide. So because it's a knee on knee, I can see 1 to 2 games, but I could also just see a fine.
I actually, it's a tough one because
you never know what you can get out of this because it's on more serious plays. Again, like we've talked about, you intentionally see a player stick out their leg. I didn't see intention with sticking out the leg. He was just trying to skate through the check.
The thing with me is that does check out. You are fully responsible for your body, and he is getting a little bit. That's a lazy play and it's a dangerous play. Mm-hmm. So I do think I agree with you. 4 would be too many. 2 or 3 sounds on par. But considering also, to me, I don't even know if that's a thing that actually plays into it. If Kyle Connor goes down and this Jets team is affected by it, Ryan Strome should miss more games. I don't even know if that's a thing, but he's got to miss games if Kyle Connor is out. That's just a fact.
You can't really depend on that, though. Well,
but why not? Why not? Can you? This guy's season is leading this team, and now a lazy play by Ryan Strome on a Ducks team that's nothing. I know that can't affect.
If anyone gets injured in any situation, you're saying the offender gets just suspended for the same amount of time.
He deserves a suspension. 1 or 2 games, 3 games sounds right. I don't think a fine is enough. That's all I'm trying to say. He's got to be responsible for that knee. It doesn't look vicious. You're right. I'll back you up there. But he's got to pay the price for a bat. Like, come on. Your knee is out, and if you're going for the hit, I don't know. Anyway. I'll watch it a few more times. You and I'll revisit this, but it's really tough for the Winnipeg Jets, and it's going to be really tough if you are a fantasy hockey GM trying to replace Kyle Connor, because already, I was talking about Boone Jenner being out. If you're a guy or a gal out there, fantasy GM, who's got guys like Kyle Connor and Boone Jenner out, Brian Rust is out, their bodies dropping across the NHL right now. It's kind of that time of year, Steele. I've said it all week. I've said it for 2 weeks. These are the times of the season that you got to stay, number one, tapped to the pod, but all over your fantasy team, because these injuries can take you down.
It's the holiday season. You can't forget about the implications of the fantasy hockey league that you're in. We're going to get to some big implications on Wednesday night or Tuesday night for big time bets. But this episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
Mm-hmm.
Joe DiBiase of the Locked On Sabres podcast. ButcherBox has all you need for a tasty, stress-free holiday season with high-quality protein delivered to your door. Sometimes the best gifts are the ones you give yourself, and ButcherBox is here to help you treat yourself to more delicious, wholesome meals. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/NHL and use the code NHL to get free chicken wings for a year. That's 3 pounds of free-range organic chicken wings free in every order for a year when you sign up at butcherbox.com/NHL and use the code NHL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, leave a follow button, a 5-star review, and continue leaving the comments on the YouTube channel and DMing us over on, what, you just call it the X now? Is that what it is? Just the X? I can't not say Twitter. It's still Twitter to me.
The X sounds awful.
Yeah.
X is slightly better. The X sounds like
I'm just going to continue calling it Twitter.
Yeah,
it's
the
almost
X
just
is someone you don't want to talk about.
It took a while for me. Remember when, obviously you remember, but when it went from ACC to Scotiabank, like it took a while for me to start calling it Scotiabank on a regular basis. So it's probably
Skydome to Rogers Center was a tough one too. I'm a little bit older though, Steele. So here we go. But by the way, complete sidebar. While I rally from my Ryan Strome knee on knee comments, I just have to show some love to the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah.
How is this team alone in second? Also, what's going on in the Metro? Carolina and Pittsburgh are in the bottom. New Jersey's in 5th. And Washington and the Flyers are in the top. This team also complete sidebar. Second most road wins in the NHL.
Yes.
So maybe we need to start paying attention. And oh my gosh, Carter Hart, this right in my own heart, playing really well. Anyhow, let's get to bets, pal. It's good to have you back. Let's have a week.
That's how I felt about Jordan Binnington this year after what he did to me last season. So I'm not going to get into that, but I will start with those Philadelphia Flyers.
Sure.
I'm taking the Flyers on the money line at plus 118 against these Nashville Predators. Like you said, they've been a great road team so far. I believe they're 9-6-1 on the road this season. Nashville's also been a pretty decent home team. I believe they're 9-5-0 or 9-6-0, something along those lines.
9-6-0.
This is a battle between a good road team and a good home team, but I'm going to take the Flyers on the money line at plus 118. Great odds. You're getting great goaltending from Carter Hart. Joel Farabee's been on one. Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim. I'm loving this team right now, even under the head coach.
I knew you were gonna.
I gotta mention him every single time.
Yep.
But I'm taking the Flyers money line at plus 118 for my first pick. For my second pick, I'm also taking an underdog in this matchup because of those Carolina Hurricanes. Give me the Senators money line at plus 116.
Love it.
At home against the Carolina Hurricanes. They've been awful. They've been on a long road trip. They're almost at the end of this road trip. Yeah. The Senators got that big dub, obviously, against the Detroit Red Wings in that chaotic game where Dylan Larkin got injured. But a 5-1 victory is a 5-1 victory, and one that the Ottawa Senators really needed. So Senators money line at plus 116 for my second pick.
I like both of those, Steele. I think I might just have to do one of those. My rule of thumb for parlays, where I'm comfortable with, if I have a bigger size wager, I don't like doing more. I mean, a wager of like 30 or 40 bucks or more. I don't like doing more than 3 bets. 10, 15, whatever. I'll throw anything on there, 5 or 6. So maybe this is one of those nights where I put your 3 with my 3, and we'll giddy up for a super parlay. I'll hit you with my first 2 picks very quickly, and then I'll hit you with my lock of the night. Rangers money line, I'm also feeling them, Steele. Yeah. This is a tough spot for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe you're going to talk about this in a sec. That's why I said I'm feeling them as well. Toronto Maple Leafs have perennially not done well on these road trips in New York, especially against the Rangers. And now they have a back-to-back in New York against Long Island and New York against 2 of the best goaltenders in the league. Samsonov is in there. There's injuries on the blue line. It's a tough spot for Toronto is what I'm trying to say. New York, points in 7 of their last 10 against Toronto, including 6 wins. So give me the Rangers on the money line. What did we have there, Steele? Let's bust the graphic out here. Minus 130 for the Rangers. I'm feeling this one, Steele, and I like when you and I are on the same page. My second pick, it's right there for you. Detroit at St. Louis over 6. I have a feeling that's going to get up to 6.5. So you might get the same odd or a little bit better for 6.5. I like it at both, especially when I look at the numbers. 7 of the last 10 games between these two have gone over the number. And I'm really just feeling this spot for a high scoring game. St. Louis has a good record against Detroit in their last 10, 7-2-1, which is, that kind of makes sense given where Detroit's been and where St. Louis has been over the last couple of years. But I think given how soundly Detroit was beat by Ottawa over the weekend, I think you're going to see them bounce back. And Patrick Kane looked pretty comfortable. He's fired up to play, and I'll explain my angle on backing him for my lock of the night right after I hear yours.
The hips don't lie for Patrick Kane.
Oh,
he great out there.
Whoa, you were waiting to use that all
I was waiting to use that one for a bit when I saw
him
get his first goal. But to my lock of the night, just exactly like one of your picks, I'm taking the Rangers on the money line against the Toronto Maple Leafs at minus 130. It's the second game of a back-to-back. Like you said, they play the Islanders, then the Rangers. They don't do well on these road games. However, I do believe, again, this is going to be a day after, but I believe they're going to win against the New York Islanders in an emotional game for John Tavares going back to the island. Pierre Engvall playing his former team.
Oh, the Engvall Bowl.
The Engvall boy. He might be pretty speedy out there. Might have to keep an eye on him. But yeah that's going to be my lock of the night. Rangers money line minus 130, and then my other 2 picks, Flyers at plus 118 and plus 118, and the Senators plus 116.
I like them, Steele. I like that we're trying to keep this money train rolling right into the holidays. I like to say that. Patrick Kane, lock of the night, anytime point. The odd might not be super juicy, so this is why I'm talking about it's parlay time tonight. And I know the Detroit Red Wings played the St. Louis Blues a whole lot over, the Chicago Blackhawks played the St. Louis Blues a lot over Patty Kane's career. So it makes sense that he has good numbers, but I don't think people realize how good. Patrick Kane has scored the second most points in his career out of any team against the St. Louis Blues. In 72 career regular season games for Kane, 27 goals and 43 assists for 70 points in 72 games. Almost a point per game player. He likes playing against St. Louis, and actually some of those were going up when Chicago was fading. So now he's in the mix in the power play. He looked good on Saturday, Steele. I love to see the passion. He can still bring it. We were wondering. It looks like he's ready to go. Patty Kane, anytime point. If for some reason it's up to 1.5, I think he's going to click. He's already feeling it with the Brinkett. Patty Kane, anytime point. Lock of the night.
I like the picks heading into Wednesday or into Tuesday. This is going to be a good week into the holiday season. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. And again, make sure you go to Locked On because they've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. They're here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So you got to go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
Buying tickets to see your favorite NHL team shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com code LOCKEDON. That's JamesAllen.com code LOCKEDON.
The Locked On NHL Podcast. Can't get enough of the NHL? Locked On NHL is your answer. Stay up to date on the biggest stories, the best rivalries, and the top stars around the league. Every win, every team, every day. Listen to Locked On NHL. Available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.